season of But Is It Feminist, the podcast that supports women's rights and women's wrongs. I am your host, Amanda Hernandez, sociologist by training, hater by nature. Wow, what a year. We're a mere few weeks into 2026, and I'm feeling it. It is a bleak time, and I've been trying to find a balance of being informed and aware and doing what I can, where I can, while also protecting my mental health and not doom scrolling or compulsively refreshing every single feed on my phone to see state violence live and in action. And I know a lot of other people are in this situation as well of trying to find that balance. How do we protect ourselves and our communities while still taking action? What does action look like for each of us in a time like this? What does action look like in any time and political climate? As the saying goes, plug in where you fit in. And my personal place of fitting in has always been education. I am nothing if not a nerd, reading, learning, sharing. Naturally, this podcast is not the only place I do this work. My day job, if you will, is a professor at a small liberal arts college deep in the heart of Texas, and boy, howdy, is there a lot of work to be done in my state. I get to think and teach with students about our shared social world, and I love it, truly. I get a lot out of it personally, and I know that students get a lot out of it, especially when we have a K through 12 education system that doesn't always teach people everything, that we should know, but also about certain things like gender and race and our economic systems. And this helps people look at themselves differently, helps them look at the world differently. And maybe this is naive of me, but I truly believe that this kind of work matters. I think it matters all the time, but I think especially so right now. I also believe that there are a lot of things we don't get to in a classroom because we're all so busy learning how to do research, how to write a paper, how to manage an email inbox. That as much as I want to have my captive book club to have done the reading, to have dived deep with me on theories and ideas, sometimes we just don't get there, and that is okay. So enter the podcast, and we get to do that here. Another thing that this podcast gets to do that a classroom can't is invite more people in. I feel like whenever I tell friends or family or strangers I meet what I do and the kinds of classes I teach, almost all the time, the reply is, oh my God, I wish I could take that class. And so I love being able to talk about some of the ideas in the classroom to broaden up the audience. People who, for whatever reason, aren't sitting in lecture halls at 8 a.m. still get to be having interesting, relevant, fun conversations. And for this podcast specifically, I'm inviting everyone to ask, but is it feminist? Because truly, who amongst us has not asked ourselves some variation of that question once or twice before after seeing something truly heinous on our screens, big screen or little screen? I think the first time I truly rolled my eyes at something that was supposed to make me be like, hell yeah, feminism, was at the end of one of the Avengers movies. I think it was Endgame, where all the lady superheroes are lined up to beat the bad guy, and the shot is just close-ups on all their faces. And I mean, I just had to laugh. I had to laugh. I do think the one that got me, even though it shouldn't have, were all the Dove commercials. I was sobbing, hell yeah, baby, throw like a girl. It got me. Anyway, I have always known my lane was reading and thinking and writing and sharing about what I read and think and write about. So of course I went on to grad school so I could keep doing all of these things professionally and get paid, because I love having health insurance, I have to admit. And while I was still in grad school, the podcast as a medium was really blowing up. And it seemed to me that My friends were all like trying to start podcasts or had been a guest on a podcast. And I was like, hey, I could do that. And the ideas I had was I wanted to talk about sociology because I saw how relevant sociology was to my everyday life. And I would see things on TV or in the media or pop culture and would think, oh my God, sociology has something to say about that. The world should know. And I even had a name for it all picked out. It's very stupid. My show was going to be called Sociological Side-Eye. It's extremely cringy. It deeply needed to be workshopped. So not only do I have like this extremely shitty title, but I have no idea how to make something like that happen. How does one record something not as a voice memo? Like, where do you get a mic? How much is a mic? How do you do it? Literally just like not a single clue. And to be honest, I didn't have the time. I was in grad school fighting for my life, fighting off the diversity cohort allegations and being told by other grad students that I'd only get a job because I was a woman and of my last name, while trying to learn logistic regression, while trying to write robust theoretical frames. No, I did not have time to start a shitty podcast. So fast forward to last year, and a lot of things finally fell into place. First off, I finally had the time. My first book project was done, it was out in the world, and I could finally start thinking about what do I want to do next. Second, I had a better idea. No shade to past Amanda, she was just a wee lass, but sociological side-eye was not a good idea. The idea that has plagued me for over a decade was, but is it feminist? And I felt like that would be just a great podcast idea for me to yap, not just about sociology, but broader ideas around feminism. And finally, the last condition that has enabled this to happen is I am no longer surrounded by haters preying on my downfall as a lovely woman of color scholar, but by lovers, including many of whom you heard from last season and many you will be hearing from this season. And if you are listening to this right now, I hope that I can consider you a lover as well. I will say at the time that I recorded the first season, I didn't know if I wanted to do a second season. And here we are. So now that we are here at season 2, as of today, like right now, this moment, I have all but 2 episodes recorded and edited. And please, God, let me finish. But I feel that I know my next steps clearly enough to let you in on my plans. So this will very likely be the last season of But Is It Feminist for the foreseeable future. That's because once this is done, I will be turning to my next book project, tentatively titled, you guessed it, But Is It Feminist? Now, there are a lot of books out there about contemporary popular feminisms that rightly critique white feminism and consumer feminism, and I definitely want to stay in that vein. But what I also want to add, and what I think this show explores so well, is the very fact that there are so many different entry points to talk about and think about feminism. Everybody has a mental image of what a feminist is, and the mental image that pops into your head is based on so many different things. Where and how you grew up, if you are religious, if you used to be religious, your sexual orientation, all these different things. And not only do those, what sociologists like to call social locations, shape that mental image that comes up, but it also has an impact on whether or not we would ever consider ourselves a feminist. And I think that's super interesting. In my first book, where I write about U.S. Christian women and their relationships with feminism, I wrote, quote, "The word feminist conjures up many images. Perhaps when you hear the word feminist, you envision the 2017 Women's March. Maybe you imagine the mother of another kid at your child's school with a purple nasty woman bumper sticker on her Subaru. Perhaps you see a 20-something man at a bar holding a craft beer insisting, 'I am absolutely a feminist,' to dubious onlookers. No matter what image emerges for you, the curious and exciting thing is that one does." End quote. So as you can see, I've been thinking about this for a long time. The other thing that I find interesting is that once you start talking to people about the ideas of feminism beyond whatever the mental image that comes up for them, most people start to agree about the ideas within feminism, right? So most people tend to agree that people have a right to self-determination, and people agree that people should be able to live their lives free of fear and violence. But despite these agreements, a lot seems to get lost in translation. Those mental images of who and what feminists are become sticky and static and just full of stigma. So one of my favorite quotes, right, is like, feminists are evil lesbians who want to kill their children, right? Feminists are bad, evil man-haters. Or another thing you tend to hear a lot is, feminism today's just gone too far. Feminism back then was the right kind. That was real feminism. And what I love about doing this show is being able to demonstrate that there are so many different ways to start a conversation with people about what feminism is, who feminists are, and what a feminist future can look like. In the first season, we talked about smut books, horror movies, astrology, and even naps as feminists. We complicated the idea that motherhood and feminism are in tension with each other. Everything from reality TV to the music we enjoy, our guilty pleasures, all of these things are entry points. They are invitations to think about these questions. And I am just very thankful and excited that people were interested enough to ask for a second season of thinking about feminism together. This podcast has really given me space and time, and importantly, community, to think through these really big ideas. And I'm thinking about this season as a threshold, a bridge to keep thinking deeper and bigger about feminism in our contemporary moment. What's on the other side of that bridge? I don't know, but I am excited to find out. And I couldn't have asked for a better set of guests to do this thinking with. This season's lineup consists of banger after banger, and I know I am biased, but I am so happy with the conversations and ideas that my guest and I noodle around with this season. So here is our lineup. We have 3 whole episodes dedicated to different artists. These artists are, drumroll, Cardi B. Sorry, that just like emerged from my body when I said her name. The spirit of Cardi possessed me. Bad Bunny, and the pop princess herself, Britney Jean Spears. Music, particularly pop music, is one of the first places that I really started thinking about gender and our social world, even as a young girly pop, right? So it feels right. It feels important to spend some time thinking about music and artists and how conversations about them, their music, and their lives tell us something important and meaningful about gender and power. Other topics this season include bullying men, wherein my guest and I talk about what she terms mean girl feminism and online influencers. I also talk with an employment lawyer about Title VII and Title IX. Additionally, we also go big picture and talk about podcasts on a podcast with a sociologist who has her own podcast and has written about feminist podcasting. So that one's very fun too. And of course, since last season, there has been another season of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. So Dr. Tess Starman joins me again to talk about season 3 of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. In all, there is a lot to say, a lot to think about, and as always, lots of giggles and fun to be had. I personally don't want it if there's no giggling. I am overflowing with whimsy that must get out somehow. Okay, we made it to the end of my little script. Logistically, we will be following the same pattern as last season. A new episode will drop every other Friday for 8 episodes, including this one. The full lineup and order of episodes is posted on the podcast Instagram account at But Is It Feminist. So be sure to follow along there to keep up with everything. Get little posts, sneak peeks, etc. Also, send me memes. I hate feeling like I have to manage a social media account for this thing. So if I'm gifted with memes every time I open that app, maybe it'll be like a Pavlov thing where I'm conditioned to feel joy and not dread when I open Instagram. But before I go, I want to say thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for interacting. Thank you for supporting me and this show. Thank you for thinking about liberation and justice during a time that sorely needs it. I hope you enjoy season 2 while driving to work. I hope you enjoy it while doing your little chores or avoiding your little chores. I hope you giggle alongside us. And above all, I hope that it makes you feel hope. I often think about all the ways that we have the power to manifest. And I don't mean like, when I say manifest, I don't mean lighting the candles, doing the crystals, although I'm not mad about that. But when I say manifest, I mean when we do the work. We have the power to manifest a better future through the work we do, through our love, through being in community with others. And for me, this silly little podcast is one of those manifestations of the work I want to do. And I'm really proud of it. So please enjoy season 2, my love letter to you, all the lovers that are still tuned in.